Thanks very much, Aidan. I guess my story will be a little different to what we've just listened. I started a business, as Aidan said, called Pundit Arena, and I'm just going to give you, I suppose, the background of how that started and what was involved, what was the motivation behind it and things like that. So the theme of it is turning negatives into positives, because I suppose there was one major point in my life that really spurred me on to start my own business. So if I just start off, I grew up in Grange in Douglas. Didn't come from money, came from working class. Well, always parents tried to give me as much as they could, but I always kind of wanted more. So when I started off, I was heavily involved in sports. I went to Douglas Community School. I attended Douglas Community School. I didn't go too often. And I wasn't the best of students. I had a brain, they noticed, but in terms of being the guy up the front of the class answering all the questions, that never happened. I was suspended numerous times. Probably down to the fact that I was running a bookies that they found out about in the school. I was getting students to race at lunch. I had a few teachers betting on it at one stage. Probably if you type it into YouTube, it has a few views. Then on top of that, I was probably selling CDs on the side, things like that. So there was always, I suppose, what they call entrepreneurial these days, but it was a cowboy back then. So I guess there was one big moment. I wouldn't be the most religious guy, but there was one event in the school. So we're a non-denominational school, and all the other schools were getting a day off because it was some religious day. So obviously I saw the opportunity there to push it out and say, lads, this isn't on at all, you know, we're really religious and things like that. So come on, we strike. So we had a strike in the school. And so that, I suppose, I didn't realise they knew it was me, and there was a big assembly, and they said, look, we know who it is. And he just looks down at me and he said, look, I don't think he'll be in the school much longer. And he said that to the rest of the entire student body. So I was there thinking, oh, I'm out of here anyway. So the principal calls me in and he says, look, you have a brain, we can see that. You're not working, but you're still doing well. I'll give you one last opportunity. And I guess the caretaker in the school pulled me aside and he said to me, you know, what are you doing? You don't want to be me, you don't want to be stuck here in the school. He said, I had a brain, I was a messer, and now I'm cleaning bins in the school. He said, just get your act together. So I suppose in the summer of 5th year, towards start of 6th year, I just kind of got my head together and started to, I suppose, work in school and stuff like that. So I did a good leaving cert, got the highest in the school in a number of subjects, and decided to go into sports studies and PE in UCC. I was really interested in sport. I was also interested in the fact that I'd get June, July and August off if I was a teacher and get paid for it. So I went in and I did sports studies. I thought this was great. Really, really excited to do sports and get a degree on top of it. Enjoyed that, enjoyed the college life and things like that. But then I suppose I qualified as a teacher, and I really enjoyed it. I saw what I was doing to teachers. I suppose it was kind of as if the tables had turned, so it was my purgatory. But I enjoyed teaching. I taught in school and things like that, but as I went on, I started to feel that maybe I was just motivated by the fact that I can go out, I can be a PE teacher or an Irish teacher, and I can just count down the days until June, July and August again. And that just wasn't enough for me. I suppose one thing I always look for is self-improvement, and I think that's something that everybody looks for. If you get stuck in a job where there's no self-improvement or you can't see yourself making real progress, then I think eventually that'll catch up on you. And I was teaching, and I guess I didn't really have the balls, or I wasn't brave enough to realise, look, step away, you'll be better suited to other things. And I met some great people. Then all of a sudden, it was around December 2012, there was an event happened. I unfortunately stood on a bottle, twisted my foot, and ended up breaking my foot. And obviously that was a nightmare coming into Christmas, especially as a PE teacher. So then, about a week and a half later, the other foot went, and just from, they didn't know, they tried me for all sorts of tests, all the obvious ones and things like that. No one knew what it was. So then obviously I was in a wheelchair for the bones of about 2 months. So to go from being a PE teacher or someone who's heavily involved in sports to being in a wheelchair and not being able to do anything, it was just a massive life change. Lucky I had some good people around me, but no matter how confident you are, that would still get you down. So for myself, there were some dark days. I had to move my bedroom downstairs, stuff like that. And I remember there was a few funny days as well. I mean, turning up to a Douglas Hall soccer match in a wheelchair 2 weeks after playing against a team like Everton, and they see you on the sideline, they're saying, what's going on here? Or the lads grabbing the wheelchair and trying to get the lads off, saying, you're too old, sit into his wheelchair, you know, that kind of stuff. But I suppose they helped in a way, but then it's only when I got home that it really kind of hit me, you know, like, what am I going to do here? It actually was 2 of about 4 or 5 breaks in the course of a year or a year and a half. So that was tough. I obviously couldn't go back to teaching PE. So while I was there in my bedroom downstairs, I said, look, what am I going to do? Am I going to just waste away? I don't know, get fat, get depressed, things like that. I said, no, have to do something with myself. So I decided to set myself a roster. And I said, look, I'll try and make a difference, try and get a job as a journalist and things like that, because English was always one of my highest performing subjects and it was something I was really passionate about. And obviously if I could couple that with sports and somehow make money out of it, then that was great. So I started applying a lot of places and it was really, really tough to get online. Like I could have started my own blog, but I really wanted the audience. So I got a job with a guy, and Joe was his name, and he helped me out a bit. And then I realised, look, there's actually a massive hunger here for people who want to write about sports. So I decided to set up my own website called sportiseverything.com. And it was like an aggregator for top bloggers, so we could bring everyone together. Joe offered me a job. He said, look, come up to Dublin. I said, no, look, I'm going to go out on my own. And I decided to go out on my own. People put their faith in me, and I guess during those 2 months that I was in my bedroom, I didn't know how to build a website. So I just taught myself to build a website. I had so many hours. I just said, look, there's thousands, if not millions of people before me that have tried to build websites. There's bound to be tutorials. So luckily there was. Taught myself how to build a website, a brutal website albeit, but still a website nonetheless. And I launched Sport is Everything. So thankfully that started to grow. Got a small bit of traction. I didn't know it at the time, but it was probably a limited business. Obviously it was close to my heart, so I thought I could really make something of it. So I decided to apply for the Ignite program. And for those who don't know, it's a business innovation program in UCC. And what it does is basically puts you in with 10 to 12 like-minded entrepreneurs. You come in with a business idea and you see if it's viable. You've 9 months to give you as much help as you can. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does, then you know it'll change your life. And lucky that happened for me. So I remember I came in the first day and we were sitting around the round table. And I don't know if it was strategic, but there was a guy called Ross O'Dwyer sitting at the top left. I was sitting in the top right. So I was in the round naming our businesses and our business ideas. He said his. And I goes, oh Jesus, this is very similar to mine. And then I came down and I said mine, and he thought the same. I said, like, this isn't on the two of us. It could have caused friction, or else, you know, it could have went really badly, but it didn't. The guy who ran the program, Eamon Curtin, took a punt on us that, you know, maybe you could get these guys together and they could start to build something. He took a few other punts that didn't really work, and I suppose that's the risk you take. I remember we came down one Saturday. We came into UCC, myself and Ross. We didn't know each other, and I said, look, is he going to turn up? And he probably thought the same as me. Is he going to turn up? So then we turned up finally down in UCC, and we said, look, are we going to make something of this? We're going to save time, energy, money, effort, everything, and just put this together and try and give ourselves the opportunity to build something that people want and build something big. So overnight we decided to launch a website, and off we went. We launched Pundit Arena. So had I not broken my feet or ended up in that wheelchair, I wouldn't have been in UCC. I probably would have still been a somewhat unhappy teacher in the north side of Cork. So luckily I was delighted with how that worked out, and that was a negative turning into a positive. So we started to build a business, and at the start no one wanted to read our content we found, but what we did was all the content came from fans, so it was really passionate and people were opinionated and things like that. So we just wanted to give them a voice. We wanted to curate their content. We wanted to amplify it and bring it out to the mass market. Started working on distribution. Our first month we had 368 users. So that equates to less than a cent of revenue. So we were putting in these massive hours, but we were seeing no return. So we realised distribution was our issue. We focused on distribution. And one thing we always say is if the Irish Times had the best content in the world but only gave it to everyone in this room, then they're hitting the ceiling straight away. So for us, we were stuck in an office in UCC. We weren't providing it to enough people. So the more people we could get out to, the more people would be interested in our content. So then we started to grow the business, and I'll fast forward. Things started to go well. We started to get some momentum. We got some guys in that were interns and stuff like that. We really sold the vision to guys and said, look, work with us. We'll get money. We'll pay you then. Everyone that's worked for us has worked for us for free, and they've proven themselves to us. I suppose that's what's important, just sell them the dream, because I suppose we believed in it ourselves, and hopefully that rubbed off on our staff. So next, a couple of guys started snooping around, offered us €100,000 in investment. And for two guys who were still jumping on the Lewis, one looks left, one looks right to see if there's any conductor, and didn't have 2 pennies to rub off each other. And we've jumped off the Lewis at the wrong stop just to get away with it. Then to give up €100,000 was a massive moment for us. So then the people around us saw that we were taking it seriously. One guy, John Lamphere from Facebook, he decided, yeah, look, I trust you, you can say no to this money, then, you know, I'll believe in you. He became our first investor. And then people started to really believe in us. We started to grow again. Another guy offered us 50,000 investment, a good valuation. We thought, brilliant, this is us, Christmas, we can pay the wages, get guys on board. We were supposed to meet him on the Friday, we shook on it and everything. Still haven't heard from him. Don't know, his phone turned off, something like that. So that was a massive negative for us. We focused on other things, and for some reason these things just start to work out for us. We work really, really hard, and it's just when things look really, really dark, something comes over the hill and it just works out for us. So a guy came out, or the IBYE, the young entrepreneur, came out, we got 20 grand off that. We built our team again, we started going and going. So next we got some real traction, and we ended up in Silicon Valley thanks to Enterprise Ireland. Things were going really well. We were up to 100,000 users, and we got to 1 million unique visitors per month. And we were delighted with that. We started off at 368, and just to grow that, it was massive for us. So like we always put things in terms of stadiums, or stadia, sorry. And we were looking at a Cork AUL soccer fixture attendance, and then all of a sudden we had like 10 or 12 Croke Parks full on All Ireland Day. That's the way we visualise it, so that was great for us. Then a big media house in Ireland came along and promised us everything. So we were over in Silicon Valley getting up at 5 a.m, going Skypes. They were like, we're going to give you everything, we're investing in you. We couldn't hit our wages. The one thing that we've always done is we've always met payroll, and that's probably one of the proudest things ever. But we thought, look, we have money here again. Came down to a Thursday at 2 o'clock. I remember it. They didn't ring me till 4:30. I said, no, look, we're not coming in for that anymore. We're going to buy you out, put money into that at a terrible valuation for us. We wasted about 4 months of our work, and all of a sudden again, we didn't know how we were going to pay the bills, things like that. So it's just funny how these negatives change. But the one thing I've noticed, that whenever something really, really negative happens, it's a predecessor to something that's really, really great around the corner. So for us, we learned a lot about that, and we changed around. We said we'd raise a smaller bit of money and just prove to people that we can get to the million, we can do stuff with a small cash, and just put your faith in us. And we did. We raised some small money, and now we're at the point where if we had taken that money from the unnamed company, then I don't think we would have existed today. We would have been squeezed out. But now, thankfully, we're at the point where after the last 4 months of work, probably aged a lot, we're about to close a round for €600,000, which is massive to us. And that's just been justification for all of our work, and that comes down to our team. So the main point I was just trying to get across is that whenever something negative happens and whenever we're down, we try to get across to the staff. Just keep your head down and drive on, and that's the main thing we say to our team. Like, they're unaware of the stuff that we go through in the background, and we try to shelter them from it. But as I said earlier, these things just keep working out because everyone's working so hard. Probably the hardest thing I've had to do in the last 2 months was let go of one of our staff members. Probably played on our minds for 6 weeks, 5 weeks. To be 25 years of age and have to sack a guy who's been there for you over the past year was probably the toughest thing ever. But things have changed, and around the corner then came this investment round. So that's just what I've seen with entrepreneurial side of things, is that you just got to keep going, you know. No matter how down you get, no matter how bad things are, just keep on driving on, keep doing what you're doing, and it works out. So we were very close to not missing payroll, or not meeting payroll, and we were literally just sitting in Dublin, myself and my co-founder, looking at each other and said, we've got 2 hours, what are we going to do? We need to pay these guys, you know. And we were so close to ringing them. Next, an email came in from one of our investors and says, hey lads, I've decided to lodge the money 2 weeks early. I've been lucky. It should be in there by now. So next, I'd say, we were jumping around, kissing and hugging each other in the middle of Dublin. So if you've heard those rumours, they're not true. But so for us, I think my main point was just that there are a lot of negatives, but every time something negative comes, there's something positive around the corner. It's just about continuing the momentum and just keep going. As I said, if that didn't happen to me with the whole wheelchair and things like that, I wouldn't be standing here. I wouldn't have. We were up to a team of 10 now. We'll be up to 16 by February, and for us, I suppose that's just. It's just hard to believe, really, when we think about it ourselves. So, thanks very much for listening. That's been my story so far. It's not over yet. We're continuing to go on, and we're going to hit 2 million, and then hopefully in 12 months' time we'll have 4 million users, and that's a vision we've been getting across to everyone. So. If any of you are interested, check it out, punditarena.com, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much.